allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's St. Patty's Day. You're in green, and Mike is wonderfully in green
I like the
today.
shot glasses on the side of us.
Oh my
Where's
goodness.
the drink? I was just thinking we should have refreshments.
I only drink Bailey's, so.
Where's the?
Yeah, that's okay.
If you'll do a roll call, please.
Robert Mueller,
Here.
Dina Kreitler,
Here.
Jan Braun,
Here.
Sarah Menard,
Here.
Mary Beth Ferguson,
Here.
Kelly Fowler, Laura Oliver, Michael Hankins,
Here.
Kathleen Walsh,
Here.
Beth Caldwell,
Here.
and we have a quorum.
Thank you. You have the agenda in front of you. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
If there are no additions or changes, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. You have the minutes of the January meeting, since we didn't have the February meeting. A little white stuff got to us, I believe, that day. So take a look at that, and if there's any changes or... If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Sarah, second. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Say nay. Motion carries. Any citizens to be heard? Welcome again. Okay, if not, Sandy, you give us
Okay.
your report, please?
A good turnout.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. There's faces I haven't seen in a while. Mostly you, Jan. You've been busy lately, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Okay, so a couple of things. Here are the statistics as to Welcome Center visitors. Just pass those around. While that one's coming around, I'm going to go ahead and pass the next one too. This is our tourism-related revenue expense line items, and then on the flip side is just a little report summary about our search engine marketing program. So the first one that you have, the one with all the colored bars, this is the summary of the visitors through the Welcome Center, and in the month of February, we had a total of 833 guests. That total was up 22% compared to February of last year, and that puts us at 30% ahead on the year, even considering that we were closed for 2 days due to snow in February this year. And I actually looked at February last year, and although we didn't close any days in February last year, there were 2 serious snow days, and I actually walked up the street, spent the night, and walked back to work the next morning. So for all intents and purposes, we probably could have been counted as closed. So I feel like it's pretty close in terms of truly we had 2 snow days last year, truly we had 2 snow days this year in the month of February.
It's encouraging.
Yeah, it is encouraging, yeah, that the numbers are up. Maybe next year will be the year that Mother Nature will leave us alone a little bit with this snow, as you said.
Well, did it, yeah.
Yeah, I realize I've missed a few meetings. Apologize for that, sincerely. Just curious, I'm sure it's been discussed, but the August 2014, does that include Georgia Fed? I mean, that's unusually high.
Yes, it does. We started counting Jour de Fête last year, and so from 2013 forward, we're going to have accurate numbers as to the real number of people who were through the Welcome Center each year.
From 14.
No,
Did you say
13.
13?
13 and 14.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so it was very high. And Jan, I thought you were going to notice the bottom line there, which was a threshold for us that we did discuss at a previous meeting, but we crossed 20,000 visitors for the first time ever, so that was a pretty significant number for us. Anyway, so we're up 37% on the year. March is going strong so far. It's a little early to tell with some of the weather that we had, but it's looking pretty good. I also wanted to just touch on the next report is the tourism-related revenues and expenses. These are just some kind of earmarked accounts that we pull out of the total budget that just looks at tour revenue and expenses. You're looking at the actuals there from the beginning of our fiscal year in October each year. And then printing, postage. You can see we've been pretty consistent in postage. I think that we're doing pretty well with our brochures. It's a good chance that we may not need the total amount in printing and binding, and I have a proposal for where we might be able to reallocate some of that. The co-op grant, the marketing expense, this is the what we code most of the expenses to for our advertising program. And you can see that we advertised pretty heavily. Well, we paid quite a few bills in October, November, December, and where we are on the year there. Tourism tax commission revenue and tourism tax commission marketing expense. This, of course, is, they don't follow the same fiscal year, so it's a little misleading, but you can at least track what some of the revenues and expenses by month were there. Meetings and conferences and travel and lodging. When I put last year's budget together, I did not know about the State Division of Tourism's opportunity that they were going to present us with to be able to participate in the Travel South Conference. This is a group of the 14 southern states that Missouri has just joined. And so they sponsored divisions of tourism to attend on their behalf and not have to pay a booth fee to be able to exhibit, which is a significant savings. All we had to do was to pay our expenses to get ourselves there. So the meetings and conference line item and the travel and lodging line item is running higher than I originally thought it was going to, because there were 2 conferences and a membership fee that I wasn't counting on. So probably, I know that we would need, I talked with Martin about this, and we would need to send this before the Board of Aldermen, but probably I'm going to take a look at the line items where we're running a little under budget and propose to reallocate some of those funds to the marketing expenses for meetings and conferences and lodging. Because we will still have 2 small obligations that we do every year that I already know about, and that is the state fair, to be able to participate with on the Women's Day at the state fair like I did last year. It's just a 1-day display at the state fair, and then also the Missouri Governor's Conference on Tourism. This year it was in St. Louis, so I was able to take Megan and myself, and next year I'd like to participate in that too. So anyway, I just wanted to keep everyone kind of up to speed on the trends and how things are going. We're on track. I think we're going to be under in some areas, and that's why I'm suggesting maybe we can reallocate some. On the flip side of that, you'll see in the email that I sent you in February, I kind of summarized where we were with all of the different marketing and advertising. And this is a program that I mentioned in that email that this year I have already started to shift to focus more on some online marketing opportunities. The State Division of Tourism has a program where they allow us to match 50%. Well, in other words, they underwrite 50%, and this is not part of our co-op grant, but they will underwrite the cost of 50% of a search engine marketing campaign. So I started doing this in probably middle of the summer last year. And we've been tweaking it as we go along, but the report that you have on the backside here just kind of shows you, this was for the month of February. So you can see, basically it's a pay-per-click campaign. They guarantee a certain number of clicks, and they do the amount of advertising that it takes and the amount of presentation of your image to reach that number of clicks. So if I show it to 10 people and they all 10 click, great. If I show it to 10 and only 5 of them click, then I have to show it to enough people to get the 10. That's how that works. So you can see there the ones that I've highlighted in terms of the categories. This is all based on the content that Google can find on our website, and so you can see that the highest direct hits are, of course, Visit St. Genevieve, the lodging, the wineries, and the outdoor recreation. Those are the things that people are keying in more frequently in their search engine queries that lead them to our website. And the click-through rate is 2.3%, which they tell me is an excellent click-through rate. Typical is about 1%. So we're presenting, we're getting clicks, we're getting this digital marketing component, which we didn't have before, and we're only having to pay 50% of the bill to do it. So it's really a pretty good deal all the way around.
Did you say this was just February's numbers?
That is. Mm-hmm. So each month this is a component of our advertising campaign, in addition to the print, in addition to the media and everything else. And speaking of media, I'm sure that probably most of you saw the March issue of 573 magazine. This magazine now has 2 different headers on it. This one is blue letters on a white background. They also have one that has a blue background. There's different zones for this magazine now. They've expanded their scope. So this is the one that's kind of our zone in this area, and then there's a separate one for the Cape Girardeau zone. But I'll pass this around for those who possibly might not have seen it yet. There's a very nice article in here about...
He's been very kind to us.
Yes. They did a very nice article about the Southern Hotel and a nice article about Audubon's restaurant. And, of course, we had an ad, too. I like the mix of the historic photos juxtaposed right next to the current day, which I think is really very eye-catching. So I'm just going to mark this so that you'll see our ad in addition. There's our ad right there. So that's our branding ad for St. Genevieve. So I'm going to pass this one around. And then that's one that probably most people have seen. This is one that you may or may not get. This is the Show Me Missouri magazine. There's 2 statewide magazines that are kind of geared towards travelers and history buffs and cultural enthusiasts across the state of Missouri. One is Show Me Missouri magazine, the other is Missouri Life magazine. So this one did a very nice article on the St. Genevieve Museum, which doesn't always get a lot of press. And I know they were very excited about that, and the board members on the museum were really excited to see that too. And then so I flagged in this one the other things that they picked up from what we send them all the time. They pick and choose which events to include, but they did include, Laura's not here, but they did include the Route de Vin's Jour de la Terre in April. It's one of their events that they chose. And there's our horizontal version of our ad, so you can see the consistency in the branding message. And the other one has the St. Genevieve Museum marked. I just want you all to be aware of that in case you don't get those magazines. We'll talk a little bit later, I think, about the Missouri Travel Guide.
I'd like to somehow get the museum on a website one of these days.
Have their own website?
Yeah.
Because they're on our website.
As a as a, with information and stuff.
I mean, we have a little blurb about
Yeah.
them and a photo, and
But I think we could, and we've talked to them in the past about doing that. And that, again, it just gives a better presence, I think, out there on the web if we could get them a website.
so would we be proposing to build their website?
No,
for them?
I don't, I had talked once with the foundation about maybe just putting a page up on theirs.
Oh,
Chuck would do that. We've got pictures and stuff, but
yeah.
just so it looks like a page. But it's one of the attractions, it's probably the only attraction that doesn't have a
Their own
website.
dedicated website, yeah. Well, and I know their staff, their staff would not be digitally inclined, let's say, but it's really a lot easier to maintain a Facebook presence now than it is a website
A
presence.
lot of people
so.
are doing just Facebook instead of a web page. So.
But I don't think that would necessarily apply in this case. The last thing I want to pass out is some information. This also came from the Division of Tourism. Jan and Bob and Mike, probably Kathy, are probably aware that Katie Steele-Danner, who has been the Director of Tourism for the past 5 years, just recently was tapped by the governor to move over to the Division of Professional Registration. And so Dan Lennon, who was her assistant director, is going to step in as the interim director, and there's just some information about that. In terms of outreach, the third week in February, I represented St. Genevieve Tourism at the Working Women's Survival Show in St. Louis. It was an action-packed 4 days, including ice and snowstorms in the evening, and but there was that event has a very loyal following, and there was a really good amount of foot traffic through it. We had several people who came up to help us as dressed in French colonial, and I'd like to thank Bob Mueller and his wife Linda and Mary Beth and her husband Jim for coming up to help out on Sunday. I also had Mary Elise come up on Saturday, and she took over the booth for a while. I could kind of get out and walk around, and it was a very good show, got a lot of great leads. We've already sent them information in the mail about St. Genevieve. So it was really good. I think that we were there, I know in years past, I mean, it's been many years, as Mary Beth can attest to, since St. Genevieve has had a regular presence at the Working Women's Survival Show. And I could tell you all our competitors were there. Hannibal was there, Cape Girardeau was there, St. Charles, of course, Kimmswick. So it's a good thing we were there, because it's easy to get forgotten about when you're not there. And I'll tell you what, talking to people about the new things like Audubon's, the ASL Pewter, the ghost tours.
Ghost tours were very popular.
Well, you guys saw, I mean, people's face just light up when they're ghost tours. And of course, this is the Working Women's Survival Show, so it's like a lot of girlfriend groups are like, oh, that would be so fun, let's go to St. Genevieve, do the B&B, hang out, do a ghost tour. So I've already relayed that information to the gentleman that's going to be opening that business, and I think it'll be something really exciting for B&B guests. I think it'll be exciting to have something to do in the evening. And it'll only be Friday and Saturday nights is what his plan is right now. I'm sure based on demand, he might expand that. I thought you were...
Oh, no, I'm
Nope.
not raising my hand.
Okay. So then on March the 10th, we played host to the River Heritage Association. These are the directors of tourism, convention and visitors bureaus, major attractions basically from St. Genevieve County all the way down to the Arkansas line and over to about Fredericktown, not quite as far as 67, I guess. And I just started going to those meetings last fall representing St. Genevieve Tourism, and they were so glad to see someone from St. Genevieve again, because it had been a number of years since anyone had participated. And the first meeting that I went to, there were 8 people there. And then the meeting that I went to in December, Leslie Barker, the director for the Bolduc House, attended it with me, and there were about, I'd say about 25, 30 people there because it was their Christmas meeting. Well, so here in St. Genevieve, by our good efforts and just being a great place to visit, we had almost 30 people here at this meeting. So I was really excited. I think they're on an upswing in terms of their presence as an organization. People were very interested. They are, speaking of outreach, they are hosting a booth at the Cape Girardeau Women's Show this coming up weekend, and so our St. Genevieve materials will be in their booth because we are members of that organization. So all of our attractions and properties and so on will be represented there.
Do they do any other kinds of advertising, or what's the,
Yes, they
what's
have
the
a-
purpose of the group, and how do they?
To build tourism throughout the Southeast region. So if you were to go to the state's tourism site, you would see these regions of the state that are kind of carved out. We're in the River Heritage region. This predated the whole Regional Cuisines Project and the River Hills Association. It's been going on, as far as I can tell, for 20 years. I mean, Fran Bollinger was one of the original.
And then Larry, wasn't Larry after that?
Larry and Donna Marlar was there at the meeting. So it goes way back, but their purpose is to increase tourism throughout the region and to make sure that visitor centers in different areas know about what there is to do and see in other communities. So it's really great for people there. I mean, they came up early. Some of them were walking around the downtown, kind of get a feel for things, because if you're from Hayti or New Madrid, you just probably don't get to St. Genevieve very often. So some of them came up at 4:30, and of course we had the book signing with the guest speaker who was Gail Harper, the author of the 90 Days on the River book. And so I think it's a good thing. I think it'll help us leverage what we're trying to do, because as a member of that organization, they help get our information out, and then I don't have to go to every single conference and trade show and so on directly. They can kind
Are
of...
we the northern part of that?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the name of it is, but Jefferson County is grouped with St. Louis and points farther north. Immediately after the Working Women's Survival Show was a conference in St. Louis sponsored by National Geographic called Sustainable Geotourism, of all things. What is sustainable geotourism, you might ask? Well, I ask the same things. So it's National Geographic, so they're looking for unique experiences that National Geographic would want to tell people about who are looking for a unique experience along the Mississippi River. And so this is literally the whole Mississippi Valley from Minnesota to the Gulf of Mexico. And National Geographic, with their branding, their staff, their labor, their organization, they are putting together a website to help increase interest in road trips along the Mississippi River and in tourism along the Mississippi River. So unique and cultural and sustainable. And so it was partnering with the Great Rivers Greenway Corridor in St. Louis, which is a big biking and outdoor activity organization in St. Louis. We did,
And-
yes.
The chairman of Great Rivers Greenway is Susan Troutman.
Ah,
Yeah, local St. Genevieve connection.
well, how about that?
Yeah, so
I wonder if
that's
she was there and I just
That's a
didn't.
thing to use.
Yeah, how about that? I'm writing that down. So I attended that. The reason they were hosting these meetings, they had 4 up and down the Mississippi River, is they're announcing the rollout of this, their most recent website. It will take 18 months to build. We are able to submit our locations, like you could submit the Southern Hotel or the Audubon. I'm going to send this out in a tips for tourism with the direct link to it, but basically you go on, you create an ID. It's a lot like the visitor's guide. You create an ID, you register your site, you say what's unique and special about it, and you submit it. You can attach photos, you can attach video if you wanted, you can pinpoint it on a map. And so I've already gone in for St. Genevieve and registered St. Genevieve as a destination, and also the Welcome Center And the historic district of St. Genevieve is something definitely unique and definitely cultural and of interest to travelers. So it'll take them 18 months to put this together, but if you wanted to see an example of it, they've done sites like this for like the Gulf Coast states has on National Geographic, they have the same kind of a website, and Yellowstone is another example that pops to mind. And they're beautifully done. I mean, it's all done first class with beautiful photography and layout and everything by National Geographic. We can put links to our site on there, so it's just another way to drive interest and traffic to our site. And I'm really excited about it, so. If you hear the
Opportunity for free advertising.
free,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm sure Nat Geo's getting a write-off somewhere, but happy for them that they're doing so. It's a great opportunity for us.
Have we ever, as a community, looked at geocaching?
Yes, I know that there were files about that some years ago.
Yeah, I just remember we had one at the Geepler House, and it's amazing how many people stop by to do that. I think you have one at the Welcome Center, or did have one at the Welcome Center.
Pond Park is a big.
Yeah. I just wonder if we had a little campaign to do some more of those around, that, because it's a specialty kind of club, I guess, that does that. But,
So it's not a small group. I mean, it's a lot of people do it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they must all know exactly
there's websites.
what they're honed in
Yeah.
on, because in a year and a half, one person has asked us about the geotourism. I mean, about the geocaching. So they must all, like you said, there's a
If they're
website that
GPS
tells them.
units that have the coordinates.
Right.
And they get
So
a
they
little
know
irritated
exactly where to go.
if your GPS isn't very accurate and you're a few feet
Yeah, you don't
yards
want to
off.
be in the wrong spot, do
Yeah.
you? So,
It's just a thought of another kind of nifty little way to bring people to town. There's another different group that they do confluences, which is where longitude and latitudes meet. And we kind of have a famous one just across the river. The 90th meridian and the 38th parallel. But I mean, people go, oh, and they, it's like geocaching. They log in, say we've been there, take a picture of it.
as long as we're talking about really unique niches. Speaking of, okay, so you've got geocaching, you've got these confluence people. There are also people who travel the world in search of lunar or solar eclipses. And sometime in like 2017 or 2018, the best viewing site for, I think it's a lunar eclipse, but don't quote me on it, is going to be Horse Island, just beside the Chester Bridge. And so we've had people calling, saying, where is Horse Island?
Can I
You
stay
know,
there? Can I stay there?
I am like, I've never heard of Horse Island in my life before. So then we're looking it up, you're like, oh, it looks like it's kind of down by, anyway, so.
Well, there's a sign, I think it's Horse Island Slough.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So like I
Right
had to
by
go
the
to a
bridge.
meeting over there and I'm like, there it is, Horse Island Slough. Now we know where to send people. So there are all these specialty, there's a
Yeah.
specialty for almost everything.
No, you tell them you don't know where it is, but St. John's close enough, so just come here,
Right.
right?
You don't want to be camping out on Horse
Yeah.
Island, come up here. So, I think I've got some other things to cover later, but that's,
Okay. Any questions of Sandra? Okay, what did I do with my agenda? Okay. Jeannie, I know you had another class, I guess, in Excel. And
We
you
did.
thinking about some more coming up?
We actually had, it was a month ago today, actually. Or no, I guess it would be next week. It'd be a month. We had 24 people at the Excel class at St. John's campus. And we had a board meeting today, so I think Chamber is going to look at doing a complete education series with the school district and offering it to our Chamber members and our small business owners. So it was very well attended. I think we had 24, 25 people with capacity of 30, so it was really good. They did a great job. Some of those kids up there, they could have probably taught the class. They were that great. I mean, they knew what they were doing. So anyway, we're hoping to tie it in with both schools and seeing what we can offer our chamber members for entrepreneurs and things like that.
How many of those are chamber members versus general citizens?
23 of them were chamber members, and there was one that was just an individual. She actually came with her daughter, who was a chamber member, but she was 78 years old, and she did the class, and she loved it. So, and she wants to come back for the advanced series, which kind of floored me. So, but yeah, it was good. But I think, you know, a lot of people had asked about, you know, with the way that technology changes with Word, simple things like Word and PowerPoint and Publisher, and just some classes to kind of brush them up on the changes and different things. So we're going to work with that and see what we can find.
You know, the problem is that most business people don't have time to attend that class. And Wayne Swigert was sitting in front of me, and we were talking after the class, and he said the last time I took a class, and this is when I took a class too, was Lotus 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
And Wayne was one of them that
Yeah.
he loved it, and he's
I
like,
did too.
Right.
It does everything for you now. We had to do it ourselves. We had to place everything, we had to tell it how to multiply it and how to divide it and where to set it. You don't have to do any of that anymore.
Just got a formula for everything.
Yeah, you just say, put it here, and it takes care of it. It does everything.
She even gave us a cheat sheet,
Was unbelievable.
so
Yeah.
Some shortcuts, so we could
Yeah,
take
in
with
fact, I
us if
still
we
have
just
mine
didn't
right here. If
remember.
anybody would like a copy of it.
Right.
Your Lotus now?
No,
No, thanks.
but this is the cheat sheet, both sides of it, if anyone wants a copy of it.
I would like that.
So we're continuing to work on,
I mean, give it to Carla.
No, Carla needs to stay here.
work on ideas of how
Mark, I can do it
to
later.
express more benefits to our members, especially our small businesses.
Unbelievable.
So an education series is what we're working on.
And no matter how far if you got off of it, you know, if you hit the wrong keys, there was one of those students right behind you said, no, that's not quite right.
At one point, I think Mrs. Bader turned it over
Oh,
to
to the
one of the
students,
students.
yeah.
She taught the
The
class.
one, the tall boy was a freshman, I think.
There's some pretty amazing.
And he
Yeah.
stuff that Gary's
really
put out there.
sharp.
Yeah.
The rest of them were
Businesses.
juniors and seniors.
Juniors and
But he
seniors,
was
but that one was-
really
you're
sharp.
right.
So he's gonna make it very well in the marketing world. But yeah,
That's
it was a
good.
great class.
I think,
Yeah, it was
I
a
think
good
that's
class.
marvelous what the chamber's doing, and just keep it going, and, I mean,
Yeah.
anything we can do to help our business community
Right.
become more efficient, do better marketing, and better
Yeah,
customer
there were a lot
service.
of business people there.
There was. Well, Country Mart sent, I think, 8 department heads.
That's
Oh, wow.
great.
And then the class was so big that the hospital hosted their own on Friday. So they contacted the school, and then they taught the hospital their own special class on that Friday after we had ours, because
cool.
our class was full and they couldn't get all their people in there.
Do you have a
So,
list of ideas of things you're looking at in the future, or?
a start of some. Like I said, we met today, so we're kind of brainstorming on some other possibilities. And, you know, a lot of it too is just website maintenance is one of them that I'll tell you I struggle with, because I have so much that I have to maintain, and what's the easiest route, and how do you break it down to what's most important. And so they have classes for that, and how you can make it user-friendly and not seem so overwhelming when you see all 2 pages of changes that have to be made, you know, why making it more structured. So just a couple different ideas.
Great.
Yeah.
Very good. Sandra had passed out the past advertising list, was that about a month ago, right after our,
I think a month ago today.
yeah. Just, is there any questions about that?
Well, one thing I was going to point out, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is that from 2013 to 2014, I kind of started graduating a little bit more towards the search engine marketing and digital marketing. And so that went from 20% in 2013 to about 28% in 2014.
As
And I'll
opposed
keep
to
that
print?
up. No, actually, it was print, broadcast, and online SEO. And print is still very heavy, but broadcast, we cut back on. in the general marketing budget. Now, we had some broadcasts going on in other budgets, so I didn't have to use as much of our general
Thank you,
marketing
sir.
dollars for that. I was able to do more online.
Okay.
Okay. Just give you a quick update on National Park Study. The last update I got was that the report would be issued to the public sometime in the spring. It was supposed to, it started about June of last year, and it's just kind of moved back. Senator Blunt did talk to Director Jarvis directly, which has added some impetus to the making sure that it does come out this spring. I think that's very important that we get that public report out. We have 30 days for comment. We probably will have one public meeting during that 30 days, and then they go back and they have to do some other things. But we really need to get that report finished and get it out. They did, during the last month, they did send a couple of guys in to look at some of the buildings that were under consideration, like the Amaro House and what was the other one? Well, I don't think Hank was around. They looked around the outside, but they didn't go in on
The
that.
Creole House?
Yeah, the Creole House. So, I mean, there is some stuff moving, but it's, I hope with Senator Blunt's interest, and he did express that Jason Smith's also very interested in this project and supportive, that we can bring this to a successful conclusion. So I think that'd be a major help for us to get people coming off the highway.
Had a guy visit, comes to St. Genevieve to visit his wife's relatives. And he remembers talking about 5 years ago, but wherever he lives, there's a national park relative that has to do with copper mining. And he said when they established that national park, the difference was night and day, given the traffic to the museum and just people showing up.
I think the smallest national park in Missouri was like 10,000 people a year in this little bitty town that's coming up.
The smallest one in Missouri, I remember this, was they brought, I think, $500,000 of new revenue to the town.
I was asking the park director up at Whitehaven, Tim Good, who's kind of been a national park site representative, and I think the rule of thumb is for every dollar that's invested, they get $4 back.
Invested by the National Park Service?
Well, it 4 times the economic activity. I don't remember exactly what the basis was, but it is a
Right, it's that
worthwhile.
time, it's how many times that dollar turns in the community. So the new dollars in the community turns over 4 times. Yeah, it's significant.
Okay, any other old business? Then new business, upcoming events.
So next Friday night is going to be the March 4th Friday. And I know that we had a really good turnout for the February 4th Friday. Downtown Renewal was really pleased with the numbers, and especially for February, I think. And so next week, just FYI, the St. Genevieve Art Guild hosts an annual art competition for area high school students, Valley and St. Gen. And so that high school art show will be hung and displayed during the week. Next week, it'll be judged by members of the Art Guild, and then on Friday night, well, it'll be, of course, anytime the Welcome Center is open, parents could come and see their students' work, and I think there's going to be over 250 pieces of art in the student art show. So not only will the Welcome Center be participating in the Art Walk, we'll have something kind of special this month because it's the student art show.
One other little thing, I think it's April 19th, Carl Eckbert's going to be in town to sign his new book called St. Louis Rising. And you know how Carl likes to stir things up, and it's a very interesting book about the founding of St. Louis, which last year was the 250th anniversary. And he'll be in from 2 to 4 at the Shaw House to sign that new book. So
And that's April
I think it's
April
the
19th.
Yeah.
We posted it on our Facebook page. And Sharon Persons is the co-author, right?
Right. And she spoke at our
History.
history conference, not this past year, but the year before.
And then, of course, also in April is the École de Soldats. You want to touch on that?
Well, that'll be, I think it's the last weekend of April. They start, some of them come in on Thursday, but it's on Friday when they start setting up down at the Jour de Fête grounds. They are, on Friday, they're going to do a program up at St. Gen for the fourth graders. Last year, we did it at Valley for the fourth graders. And they teach them a little bit about some of our French colonial history. I think there's 4 groups that we're going to run through that afternoon, and it's the local police helps them with that. Then on Friday evening, we've done a tour of either the cemetery or the church or the Gibor House. This year, I think they're going to tour ASL, the pewter place, since those kind of guys like that stuff.
Oh, it's all colonial era appropriate, authentic molds and the whole bit.
And then on Saturday, they start a series of lectures at the Welcome Center. I'm trying to remember what they had a couple of the lectures that they had that they were going to bring them. They usually have 4 or 5 good speakers about something of the pre-1763 time period or before 1800. And then on Saturday afternoon, they have an auction, which is a blast. It is a lot of fun. If you want to donate anything of a colonial nature or something like that, I know they always take that sort of thing, but that's what pays for the speakers and having the school the next year.
That date is what?
It's the last
It's
Friday,
April the
24th?
excuse me, the 25th and 26th. So that Friday the 25th and Saturday the 26th. And then
We'll be getting some flyers out on that. We've been trying to get them from them, and once we get it posted, we'll send them to all the B&Bs and post it on the website.
also the weekend before that I mentioned previously is the Jour de la Terre, which is the celebration of Earth Day on the Route de Vin. So that's April 18th and 19th. Same weekend as the book signing at Felix Valley.
Same weekend as Chamber Banquet.
Same weekend.
Our gala
Ooh,
is
yeah.
that Friday, the 17th, at DeBerg Center. So, yep.
Tickets go on sale Monday.
The 23rd, yep. 8:30 a.m. And actually, the one thing is it's tables of 8 this year instead of tables of 10. So, plan accordingly. So,
What's the max capacity you could sell?
we're selling 250 tickets. They can house 275 comfortably, but, well, I shouldn't say, that's their max. We wanted to be comfortable, so we kind of went with 250, which is 50 more than what we were able to host last year. So,
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
So I'll just run right into Saturdays in St. Genevieve. This is a program that you've heard me talking about, trying to create things to see and do and experience in St. Genevieve, especially on the weekends, like when the B&B guests check out and they might go walking around. We started this in a fairly grassroots way last year. This year, I'm trying to get more demonstrators. There will be no open-air market this year, which we had last year down behind the Bank of St. Jim parking lot. So we're getting in contact with some of those people and seeing if they might want to participate. I'm also looking for people who would like to dress up in colonial attire. This could be couples, it could be a couple of girlfriends, and walk around and say hello to people, pop in and out of the shops, get a picture taken with people, whatever that is. So we call those our strollers or greeters. And so I have Bob and Linda Mueller signed up on Saturday, June 20th, but any Saturday between Labor Day or Memorial Day and Labor Day basically could have your name on it.
So how long do you want them out on the street?
I'm letting people be very flexible about that. I'd like to see like 45 minutes, and then if they, want to take a break, Station 2 has said that they, can come over for some refreshments, and then maybe hit the streets again and for a little lap around the square, just Market Street, up and down Main Street, Merchant, and 3rd Street. So 45 minutes, and if they can stand to do it twice, if they're up for it and they're having a good time,
Yeah, that's
great.
not bad.
Yeah. I just want it to be something that's a regular thing so that people, when they come here, and, even if people have friends or family in from out of town, they're like, this is really cool, look at all this stuff going on downtown. It's not just, everything's behind fences and closed doors and so on. So that's the idea behind it. The description that we have is Saturdays in St. Genevieve will feature a variety of producers of handcrafted goods, crafts, demonstrations, exhibits, artists, live music, acoustic, and costumed greeters at various locations throughout the National Landmark District of downtown St. Genevieve. We're accepting signups for each Saturday between Memorial Day and Labor Day. We would love to have your creativity included in this program. So there's that. So if you hear about Saturdays in St. Genevieve, if you've got a friend who can play a violin or a ukulele or a harmonica or whatever, have them call me. I'm signing people up.
Or crafts.
Crafts, oh, absolutely. Met the nicest lady who was visiting her sister, and she came into the Welcome Center, and she has Angora rabbits, and she, does the spinning of the wool just like sheep, but from these Angora rabbits. She said she would love to come down and set up. I was like, you are my new best friend. Bring some rabbits with you. People love furry things, so that's Saturdays in St. Genevieve.
I know like at Arrow Rock, they usually have a crafter in their park every Saturday.
Yeah, see?
And, if we could ever get that going, then people love to see stuff being made.
Sure.
They love music. And
It makes an impression, you remember it, it's tactile, it's a learning experience. Good stuff.
So if you know people that play music or crafts, give Sandra a call if you want to dress up and have some fun.
Please do.
Okay. We got a letter out the other day from visitmo.com. They're planning their 2016 magazine, and you have to have your entries in digital or electronically before June 1st, I believe, or sometime in early June. They do not take everything that you submit, all different. A lot of shops don't get in. Some restaurants don't get in. They're really heavy on B&Bs and museums and things like that. But again, this is free presence they send out about 300,000 of these a year. Plus you're on the website. We have a pretty good listing already. We went through just kind of looking at maybe some target things to put in there. Or try to get in, we really increased it again last year.
Yes, we did. Everyone is jealous of the number of entries that St. Genevieve has in this book, I can tell you. When we go out, they're like, how do you do it?
I think there's some more of the ghost tours, if we could get that in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Oberle's.
Excellent.
Rust, Sam's new shop, get that in there. Steiger House, the new Steiger House B&B needs to go.
Oh, I bet they just don't know about it.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a few others. ASL still listed as Louisiana. We've got to get them to.
Yes, I talked with them about that already, and you know how it is with your login. Your login identifies you also with your place, so they have to get their place changed through like the back of the site from Louisiana to St. Genevieve, because it keeps wanting to put them back in Louisiana every time they update it, so.
And when Beckett Revolt comes up, maybe the New Mexican restaurant, there's a couple, it's pretty well accurate, but a couple we may want to look at, Zelensky's and Sonneblum, I think is still in there, but needs to probably come off. But,
Is La Coquerel in there? As La Coquerel?
I don't think it was in there last year.
No, okay,
I'm pretty sure they weren't.
okay.
and if you can think of any other people and talk to them, it's really not that hard a process to get in and update if you can remember your password.
Right. It's always a challenge in any field. Okay, so maybe I'll put a note about that in my next tips from tourism.
You just have to remember that, especially like the B&B should be in there before June 1st, because that will get listed in the booklet.
Okay. the American Bus Association's Top 100 program. This is a list nationwide of the top 100 must-see events, and there are a different set of events each year. For instance, the Charleston Dogwood and Azalea event has been listed as one of the ABA's top 100 events. You know, the fireworks celebration in St. Louis, Mardi Gras, things like that. So across the board as a destination, the Department of Tourism has reached out and said, what would you like to suggest as your must-see events from your destination? And then we submit ours along with everyone else, and Division of Tourism picks from amongst those and sends a submission to the American Bus Association. So it's, you know, quite a sifting through process all the way up, and then eventually 100 of them are chosen. Now the 100 that are chosen get quite a bit of press and publicity in the American Bus Association's online and print campaigns, and also at all of their national conferences. So I think it would be worthwhile to spend some effort trying to find out what we would like to submit and making a case for it.
Now, does it help if more than one person, I mean, as opposed to the city of St. Genevieve suggesting, or does it take a group of people?
Well, only one can make the submission.
Oh.
So, and an event can only be submitted once, so it's not like you could submit it and then like, it's not like a voting kind of a thing.
So do you have any recommendations on what we might submit this year?
Well, I have my thoughts. I kind of wanted to see what the tourism,
A week-long nudist festival would be what I put on there. You want to draw a crowd?
I'm sure I'm going to have you explain that.
maybe on Horse Island.
Well, that'd be great, because you'd have to swim out there to get to it. So.
Alicia, I'm not sure this thing.
Yeah, I know.
Not in the minutes.
I mean,
So-
of our events, which of our events would be the biggest draw for a busload of people?
There's
Well-
several. It's hard to say one. Can you submit several,
No.
or can you only submit one?
My understanding is that we could submit up to 3, but we should probably prioritize them in
Yeah.
in case they limit us. So, I mean, the big one is probably obviously Jour de Fête in terms of being the most well-known. I also think that the Rural Heritage Day in October is very unique and,
It's the right size where a group coming will get able to gain access to everything, and, you know, I think that's a good fit.
And anymore, that's a different experience than Jour de Fête. You know, I mean, it has more.
I think it has more
It has
broad appeal.
I think, and more old-timey things, maybe not colonial, but at least has some,
authentic. Yeah.
has some historical
What's your third
flavor
one?
to it.
Well, what would be your third one? I'll just throw it out there.
It doesn't need a bus crowd. The King's Ball is the flashiest, but it doesn't need a bus. I mean, it's.
Right. First thing
Either
came to my
Christmas
mind
parade.
was King's Ball, but I don't know if you can
Well,
fit
what
another
we do-
busload of people in
But yeah,
that
it's always,
building.
it's always
We're
at
gonna have to build
capacity
a King's
anyway.
Hall,
Yeah.
King's Ball Hall.
The Christmas festival, but then you never know about the weather in December. But, I mean, that would be another good one for,
I thought the
bus
same
crowd.
thing. I think
But
it's
but
festival.
everybody has a
yes,
Christmas
What about
festival.
the French Festival?
yes. And that's growing. It may not be to the point, and you know, I love that festival. It may not be to the point this year that we would want to nominate it, but that might be one to think of for the future, perhaps. I think between the two, that Rural Heritage probably would be a stronger.
Because no matter what time you show up, there's something available.
Right. Right. So,
I think what might help is, a lot of people, if they know of St. Genevieve, one of the first things they say is, oh, you got that Jour de Fête thing. So maybe that's not the best one to do, because it right now might be our most well-known event. Maybe we need to do something else and attract more people.
I agree.
To another event.
And I also agree.
So of the things that we discussed, being Jour de Fête, Rural Heritage, Christmas Festival, if we eliminate Jour de Fête because of that reason, because it already has
It has
significant-
presence already. It has significant observations.
Have we ever had buses come in for that? Sure.
No, I don't think we ever have. Not that I remember.
Not in the last 2 years. I mean, I wouldn't tell them no, we would just have to coordinate where they would drop off and all that kind of thing. I mean, it would be,
We did have a bus tour for the French Festival about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
we had one last year,
That's right.
bus tour.
The,
What about the garden walk?
Deja Vu Spirit Reunion has had a bus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's the same
That's a-
day as the,
That's a destination.
And
you know.
Heritage.
Yeah.
will that continue to be the same day as the Rural Heritage Day?
I think that's what they planned on.
Which gives them a little bit more punch, too. So Beth just mentioned garden walk, and that's probably a really strong suggestion. It would be very unique. So if we did those three, being Rural Heritage, Christmas Festival, and garden walk. I agree with you about the weather and Christmas Festival, but I think how many festivals all across the country probably have weather as a factor, especially the further north that you go. And I do think that the music and the cultural aspects of the Christmas Festival make it extremely special. And that would be something that we could play as unique. Like a lot of towns have a Christmas parade, but how many have all of this, unique musical performances in these unique
Well, there's a huge variety of music too.
Yes.
I mean, and like Heritage Days, even Christmas, you can find something almost any hour of the day, some kind of concert.
How many times have you thought that they've canceled the Christmas festival?
Well, of course, I don't know about all the years, but I know last year was a big issue with the,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Or
so.
the year before. was
The
it
year before last.
I mean, yeah, so 2013,
Yeah,
right.
I think that's the
So-
only time it's been.
that's the only I
I don't
remember.
ever remember, yeah, it's the only
Because I've only been
time.
here 29 years, but that's the only times I can
Well,
remember.
so knock on wood, maybe we've got that out of our system, right?
Well, so what would happen if a bus tour schedules this and then something like that happens?
Well, they're gonna have the same problem. They're not gonna wanna travel in a bus if it's snowy out.
Right, I mean, I'm sure they have to deal with that all the time. However, in the meantime, it would give a lot of good publicity and press, and even if that one was snowed out, then maybe people would put it on their list for the following year.
If that was snowed out, they'd just take them to Kimmswick.
And trudge through the snow with no sidewalks.
That's right, that's true. Okay, so does that seem
So you're
like,
gonna write that up and submit it? Is that,
how about if I do this, I'll take the first shot at the descriptions, and maybe send them
Bless you.
to you. Would anyone else want to be on a review for that? Does that sound okay? Just I'll
What I have
draft
in
it, send it
front
to Bob? Okay.
you can correct our English over down there.
Was that
Mine.
Sarah volunteering?
Oh, sure.
All right. Send to,
You teach a class in creative writing, don't you?
well, jazz it up when I send it to you. Just put like adjective after adjective in there. Okay, so Bob and Sarah, great. Thanks, you all.
Okay, I guess the last topic item then is the initiatives that we had, we did some brainstorming about some of the key things and came up with some of the key things that would help us move tourism forward, and that was transportation issues both in town and to the wineries, river access beautification, and a national wildlife refuge. And I think an approach on this is to kind of break up into groups, not necessarily tonight, but in the work sessions. If we can get various people that are interested in one or another of these topics to come up with what's the idea, or what do we see could happen, and then develop maybe a way forward to make it happen. What would that take? And that's why we kind of sent it out early, so you could get a thought about, are there some things that are of personal interest to you that you would like to help move forward? And are there people in the community that we could maybe enlist to help us put this together too, that might have a passion for that, a particular subject? You have your hand up, Kathy?
All right, everybody has a copy of this document that's from March 8th of 2007 that the city graciously provided us. And when in reading the agenda, as Bob set these 3 initiatives out, I had the thought, and I discussed this with Martin, that a lot of this has been thought through already, and in fact is on paper. It's not exactly the same as what we might come up with, but I really thought that, and this is from Phase 4 of the city's agreement with the Corps of Engineers for uses in and around the levee and the big field space, bearing in mind there are 16 seep wells and you can't really do anything there. But you could have nesting boxes, which has been talked about, and walking trails that you don't care if they get flooded, that small animals would be encouraged to live there like they used to before the levee, the dove and the deer and the foxes and scenic things that people who don't live in a more rural area never get to see. And of course, eagles. And I mentioned before the meeting started, you know the water's up because you can see all the hawks flying around again. So the higher the water's coming up this spring, the more you'll see the hawks in town circling around. But I was hoping that everyone would take this and take it home and read through it. I think it'll answer a lot of questions and is exactly the kinds of things that, Bob, I know specifically you've been talking about, birding and hiking, and this covers everything from waste cans and trash dumpsters and signage. And so let's not spend a lot of time recreating something. Let's create from what there already is.
But it's going to take a plan of action to make it happen.
And the only reason this didn't come to fruition is we never got to Phase 4 because we never had the money for 2 and 3. But the plan is here. And of course, you have to remember that doing anything in and on and around the levee, you're going to run into the necessity for Corps permits. But the Corps is already in this plan, so that shouldn't be an issue. Different Corps people, but they were in on the development. Martin, do you have anything to add?
I think you pretty well stated.
Just see his eyes, he's
Like,
like.
you need to comment upon.
The other thing, Kathy, and I can't believe this was in 2007. But so, since the levee was put in and finished in 2003, at that time it was only 4 years had passed at this early work session. And now we have 10 years growth on these willows and saplings and, you know, all the river trees that are down there, which only add to the habitat on the outside, of the levee. And so I think that's something else to really take into consideration. There are probably things, this is fantastic to point out that all this, you know, thinking has been done.
Yes.
And Bob's point about getting a strategic group together and kind of coming up with the action steps to move things forward, whatever that might be. I think that, you know, as I pointed out in my email to you all last month, when you see a green space on a map, it's an automatic magnet for people because they want to see, you know, what can I see there? Like you said, they might not get to see these kinds of things all the time. So I think it's really
You kind of surprised me with this recreation and outdoor thing.
They're already, that's one of their...
That we saw on the web thing, that it was...
It's one of the top 4.
Yeah.
Is a wild bird sanctuary something somebody designates? Like,
A national wildlife refuge can be designated. At one time, the city was going to declare Memorial Cemetery a bird sanctuary back in the 30s. Keep the little boys from shooting the birds with BB guns.
Oh, good plan. We might want to get back to that.
But there's a lot of segments to this, as you see a lot of ideas. National Wildlife deals with a certain group. I mean, it's kind of outside the levee. It's not something that's going to be developed. It's just going to sit there and not be developed, but you got to get on the map that you're a National Wildlife Refuge. But you also have to have the access to go view it, which gets into this part of it.
And in this also, there is like on the far side of the levee, where the trail, the hiking trail would be, a fishing area could be developed there. You know, you kind of shore it up and create an area that you stock. So families could go there and fish, and it would be at no charge. But, I mean, almost everything is covered.
In this.
In that, yeah, yeah.
Thank you so
And there's
much.
more documents. This is the main gist of it, but there's binders full of more of it,
Well, I guess we'll put you on that committee, right?
I guess.
I think that's what we're kind of looking for today, is not to solve the problems, but this is fantastic, but I think we want to kind of divide up into who would like to be on whichever issue, right?
Well, volunteer for the river access and beautification program.
And I'd like to work on that National Wildlife Refuge, and I know we can get John Carroll
Yes.
to participate on that one too. I know
Sign
it's
him
on-
up. Sign up John Carroll.
Yeah.
He'll do it.
Should have been here, John.
There you go. We'll make him
No.
change
Make
it.
him
There you go.
We could have invited him, he was here today,
So which one?
but he stopped by to say hi.
Kathy be on, which one do you want to be on, Kathy?
I'll do Wildlife Refuge part. And I can do, if you want, because both are covered in here with river access and beautification, so whichever. Oh, yeah, you didn't get one?
No, I didn't
Oh.
get this.
Oh, you didn't?
I don't think so.
Take a different one. Maybe yours just got left off.
And remember the email that I sent out?
I don't think
Maybe-
any of them.
No, What are we nobody got missing? the
last page. Nobody got the last page with this map.
So just need the map.
Sue's not here.
No, Sue's not here.
Is it in different
I mean, I
places?
need 10 of those.
It's plat A17,
That's just the back side of the last one.
and it's the back side of the last page, yeah. Well, she was rushing to get them, I'm sure is what happened.
I'm glad we got
And
this.
I have, yes, the reason I have this is I got it the other day.
So, one thing I was going to point out, Kathy, as you mentioned, river access and beautification. There is the issue of beautification, like down there at the ferry landing, and then the river access part, the email that I sent out, I guess about 10 days ago, about missing the boat and the plans for additional boats, passenger boats on the Mississippi River. That would definitely go into that category, so we need for people to think about that. That's going to be very important. Okay.
What was that?
The Sarah mentioned that she would help with that.
River access.
Yeah. And there's been some progress in that regard. I also sent the same information that I sent to the members of this committee. I sent it to Chauncey Buckite and to the county commissioners. And the county commissioner said that whatever they can do to help in this regard, again, if we come up with the plan, they'll march with us to try to see if we can't implement that plan, so. It's going to take time and a lot of effort, but
But I think you have to set out a path to get there.
Exactly.
And
Otherwise, in another 10 years, we'll be
Right.
sitting here saying the same
Right.
thing.
that's why we're trying to just kind of narrow it to 3 things. There's a lot of different things we could work on.
So nobody has mentioned transportation, and on this I had as discussed in previous meetings, we need a shuttle to and from wine country, downtown, like a trolley or something like that is something that we had brainstormed, I guess, this time last year. And then a source for bicycles, either through an entrepreneur or some sort of a rental program through the Welcome Center maybe. Transportation in general for tourism purposes, especially to increase the visitor experience and increase the ability to get around safely.
Can I throw, I am not a negative person, but I just want to cut through some chaff on this. It may not be current news, current information, but the last I heard, SNTS said they actually added a clause to the charter saying wineries, no.
I think that
Really?
discussion has opened up again, or
Okay.
at least been approached.
Good.
Yeah.
And the first, I don't know if Mike and Kathy have this experience, but in our lodging insurance, I think one of the very first questions is, do you provide bicycles? In other words, okay, your premiums just went way up.
Yeah.
It's a real problem for people.
Or
Thank you.
B&B.
We had a couple over there on Jefferson that tried to open up rentals for
Yeah, I remember.
bicycles, and they never got it off the ground. I think the reason why is it was the insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because, you know, probably 20 years ago,
Sure, sure.
it's
Yeah.
like, what, that wasn't just.
I mean, they even came before Landmarks to get their sign over their garage,
Yeah.
and we all approved it, and I'm thinking that was probably about 16, 17 years ago.
I'm just
Yeah,
trying to be
about 20
realistic.
years
not-
ago, I
Yeah.
tried.
Well, you may not, there's other things you can do that encourage bike things. There were not paths, but bike routes. I don't remember when that was. I
61 is a bike
sent you
route.
that
Dangerous.
article, that if you put a little brochure together
Yeah.
with a bike route and what you're gonna see on the bike route, that might encourage more people to do it.
We have that actually already at the Welcome Center, but Martin, would you mind telling them about, since you mentioned the insurance?
Well, there was an offer, somebody's going to give us some bicycles, so we thought, well, same thing. Oh my goodness.
How cool.
And so we called our insurance agent and said, what would happen if the city made these bicycles available? She said, you're covered.
Really?
It
Increase our
wasn't a problem
premiums.
for us,
Well, you know, a lot of cities do provide them. San Francisco, I believe.
right?
So I can see a private vendor has a different
Yeah.
set of
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
Well, that's your answer.
Yeah.
If you provide a bicycle but do not charge for it,
well, I think
It didn't
we
say
could,
that.
we could only charge what it cost us to provide the bicycle. So, I mean, we would have some maintenance, maybe, so
Right.
we could charge a reasonable fee to cover administration and maintenance, but we can't make a profit. So.
right?
That's wonderful.
You could probably put some bike racks right here under these trees at the edge of the parking lot and throw a picnic table there and have.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
well-
what we have at Main Street Park, bike racks and tables.
Okay,
For example, I mean,
Yeah.
they should be all over
but
the
I'm
place.
thinking if
So
it's
Main
the
Street
city's
Park,
doing
the
it,
Welcome
maybe they ought to
Center,
come
and
up here and
City
get
Hall.
them.
Yeah, oh, yeah, oh, sure.
Or the Welcome
Yeah.
Center.
We're more thinking being in the center of action than being up here, but it's.
Well, there could be several
But they
stations.
can park their cars here and get the bike in and go.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so Main Street Park, Welcome Center, City Hall, I mean, there could be like, maybe we find a fourth location that's kind of, or just go with three.
Marquette Park.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another issue, and maybe, I mean, that's good that we've had this much discussion, because previously I was thinking, well, we wouldn't want to like compete, you know, with a private entrepreneur, but if that's the, you know, if it's better and it gets us more rapidly able to offer that as, you know, an attraction, I think it would be a real plus. 'cause-
Never change insurance carriers.
Well, actually, we have changed since then, but
Oh,
I don't know that the dynamic would change. I mean,
okay, maybe
It's a
you
question of
ought
whether
to
our
check on that.
general liability, I'll check again.
And something else would be that, and brochures, not necessarily, but walking tours. I mean, we think, well, tourists will come downtown and they'll just walk around and find things by accident. But, you know, a programmed walking tour that points out some historical things, and instead of a brochure, they'll just have an app that, okay, now you're standing in front of
That's
the
very easily.
XYZ house that
What
was
that?
built in.
Murphy's, no, is it Franklin?
Franklin.
Tennessee does that, yeah.
No, a lot of people do that.
And, you know, now you've got another 200 feet and you're standing in front of this house that.
Yeah.
Well, we have the script for that already in a couple of different formats, so,
We already have it narrated,
exactly,
recorded.
yeah.
Yeah, is
Digital.
that what Bill?
Yeah,
He's talking to somebody.
and I've got it digital.
Transportation.
And that's the detail.
So far, the volunteers that we have are River Access and Beautification. Jan and Sarah have signed up for that. National Wildlife Refuge, Bob and Kathy have signed up for that. I need someone who wants to tackle the halfway solved issue of transportation. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of issues surrounding transportation.
Transportation is the sites outside of the city that people may want to go to and come back. Is that what we're talking about there?
Including downtown to wineries and bicycles.
Oh, I think Laura wants to be on it.
Laura?
I think you're right.
Oh, yeah. Laura Oliver.
And she can be the chairman.
Kelly.
She's not here either.
And Kelly, because they're not.
Yeah, and Kelly too.
Can I ask you a
Guys are tough.
She's probably.
You can ask anything.
I just want to ask a detailed question about the committee that Sarah and I just volunteered for. And I'm just going to throw this out because I know there's several people in this room that have knowledge of this. Can we get for the River Access / Beautification Committee, can we have some kind of liaison with the railway?
That would be critical, yeah.
Kathy and I had a discussion, and I was trying to look up if they had an easement
Yes.
or a right-of-way, and unfortunately, they have a right-of-way.
Damn.
And cities have tried to pass laws and ordinances to get railroads to clean up their tracks, and they lose every time.
Well, you don't lose, I mean,
I thought you heard.
they have to comply with the city ordinances. Problem is, you prosecute them in this court, and they don't care. I mean, it's.
What are they going to do? Yeah.
There's
So you call them and you bug them, and they eventually get tired of listening to you, and they clean up the spot you asked them to clean up. And then 2 years later, you're calling and.
Well, you know, what I'm concerned about is not them contributing, it's them stonewalling.
Well, that's a problem.
We'd just like to get some
Yeah.
optimistic
If you have to
approaches.
cross railroad property to have access to places,
it's tough.
that's a
Heaven
problem.
forbid you use any of their property.
Pardon?
I said, and heaven forbid you use any of their property.
That's like grabbing a ladder at Lowe's. Can't find a helper, but boy, you touch a shotgun forklift and there it
This must be some kind of
You want to talk about that some more, yeah?
Yeah, you want to talk about the railroad, how come when you're coming down 4th Street, at that point, when you cross the railroad track, it's not as bad as when you're going up?
Oh, see, I thought it was just as bad.
Well, they're both bad, and I don't understand why they won't fix that.
My mom's smart car is gonna get lost in there.
I know,
Yeah.
it's like it's separating.
Yeah.
The 4th Street,
Yeah,
when
we
you
have
cross
to
the
very,
railroad
you
track,
have to almost
Yeah.
stop.
Yes.
the tracks are coming up.
No, they're not.
And when you hit those, it's like,
Yes.
is my front end gonna stay on?
Concrete pad
I wouldn't
between
Every time.
the cracks.
Yeah.
Apparently, through various three thaw cycles, it lifts up and debris gets under it, it won't go back down.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're hitting, is that piece of concrete in between the tracks. Tracks, as
Why
far as
don't
they're
they fix
concerned, tracks are fine, because they
Part of
don't,
this
tracks are
committee.
They
fine.
don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't mess up the train.
We're talking
you know?
about.
No, it doesn't bother the
river
train at all.
Train tracks.
But we got to figure out a way, because
Dina-
that is
Dina's
very
gotta-
unsightly, the weeds and the
Tomorrow,
junk
have that
and the...
conversation.
Yes, we are.
I gave you my suggestion, you could tell Martin that's it.
Yeah, I've been pursuing that for several years.
It
Yeah.
has to do with using column.
Let me ask you this, with all the people that are protesting, that are doing protests around the country, what if we went late on the track?
There you go.
Oh, they can't arrest us for it,
Martin said that.
because they're not making them get off the streets in Ferguson and Florissant, you know, and off of Highway 70, they close it down, so what if we all went up and laid on the tracks? And said, oh, we're not getting up. You think that Mississippi Lime's gonna say, oh, okay.
God, this isn't
Roll
a
over 'em.
Mississippi line issue on that track, on that.
Yeah, no, Mississippi Line
BSNF or something.
Is on our side.
I know they are,
I mean,
and they should get after them to
Well-
fix their railroad tracks.
They have about as much success with the railroad.
Yes, we do, yeah.
When you get together with other city managers, find out if there's anybody that's been successful at cleaning up a railroad track.
There you go.
I will.
I'm meeting with them tomorrow.
Railroad?
Yes.
She's got a great way to get their attention, start doing something.
Yeah.
And somebody notices,
I've
and
been
they
trying
call
to call them
you.
for like 2 weeks. They won't do anything.
Kind of like, you know.
So we got a tractor over
Took
there,
a
so
backhoe
we're
up
moving
there
some
and
dirt
started
around
digging
the
into
train,
right of
the
way.
train tracks
Look
that
at
come
the
down
here.
their property. And
get a
then
hand on
immediately
that.
they called me back just like that. What are you doing? I'm like, well, I've been trying to get your attention for 2 weeks. Guess I
This
just
is
got it.
Personal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we close, which I know we're going to very shortly, I just want to throw one thing out there, not for discussion at this time, before our next meeting. RV park,
Yes, yes, yes.
Discussion on initiatives, item 4.
Well, let's,
yeah, but next time we'll do it.
All right, so we have 2 people on each, and if you think about it and you think you might be able to help in some way on any of those issues, or hey, if you want to take on the RV park,
or if you know somebody that's kind of got a passion for something that's not on this committee.
Or if you know hot chocolate was over.
Yeah.
Okay, there any other new business before the board? Not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Happy St. Patty's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's